Welcome to the 10th Revolution Group Tech Success podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with industry-leading tech professionals. My name is Chloe Gord, and today I'm joined by Lucy Bourne from Oaka Studio. Very warm welcome to you, Lucy. Would you let our listeners know just a little bit about you and your career history to date?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Chloe. So yeah, as you said, I am a director over here at Oaka Studio. We have been around now for 2.5 years, and our sole purpose, our one mission statement, is to support particularly Microsoft Business Applications partners in scaling their relationship with Microsoft, expanding their sales and go-to-market strategies and mechanisms, and developing a solid practice for growth. And what that really means is that across an organization, a partner organization, we can support them with Microsoft Alliance, sales and go-to-market, and practice strategy. Prior to starting up my own business, I was actually at Microsoft, where I was responsible for recruiting business applications partners into the ecosystem. So if I'm honest, my day now looks very similar to what it used to while I was at Microsoft. The only slight difference was that I had a responsibility to land several different programs into the UK subsidiary, one of which was the ISV Success Microsoft program, which was all around enabling product-based partners building IP either onto or integrating into the business application stack, and supporting them for greater growth using Microsoft marketplaces. So I've got a bit of a passion for the product side of the business as well as services partners. Before joining Microsoft, I spent a couple of years at Hitachi Solutions, where I was part of their pre-sales team, ultimately responsible for presenting and recommending the art of the possible into their various enterprise clients across multiple different industries. I had the pleasure of working with some incredible industry leaders across central government, housing associations and social housing, as well as banking and investments and insurance. So it was a very diverse role, really enjoyed it. And then my first role in the industry was very much for a tech startup, a Dynamics, and at the time, Project Sienna, which we now know as Power Platform startup. And we worked on delivering kind of rapid implementation, SMB focused solutions into all sorts of different industries and capabilities. And it was a fab role because I basically learned my trade and had to wear sort of 19 different hats on a daily basis. And so what it meant was that it gave me that really good basis and foundational understanding of what it takes to land a business applications deal and see it through to fruition and make sure that project was a success. So yeah, pretty varied career, Chloe, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, what an amazing entry into the wonderful world of Microsoft. That's really exciting, and it's such a varied career, and it's so great to hear everything that you've been doing, which leads us very nicely into our first question all around Microsoft. So where are the biggest opportunities for partners within the Microsoft business applications today?
They're a massively important question, Chloe, and probably one I answer 3 or 4 times a day. So it would be remiss of me not to say the words or the acronym that's on everyone's lips in AI. I think, we could spend at least 4 solid days talking about the opportunity around AI. But if I was to summarize it, I think even though, GPT and the kind of agent-based AI capability is fairly new to the market, we're already seeing partners in that space take advantage, be it from customer success, kind of painting the picture of what an organization could achieve through generative or agentic AI capability, through to making sure that there's maturity in that organization, helping them to understand how they prepare themselves for a successful deployment, helping them to understand what return on investment or capability they could get from implementing an AI solution. So I think, I'm going to leave the AI topic there because otherwise we could be here all day. But I think if partners specifically in the kind of business applications or Azure space haven't got an AI story, they're at a bit of a distinct disadvantage. Aside from that, I think we see a huge amount of opportunity in partners moving or subtly moving away from the kind of traditional project-based, implementation-based quite frankly, lumpy profit and loss style interaction with a client through to more of a retained partnership style model. So many of the end users that we engage with through the partners we have relationships with are actually looking for partners to do just that. And by that, I mean partner with them. They want them to be the kind of critical aunt in their implementation. They want them to sit alongside them at the table and really paint the picture of what implementing a capability really means to them, as opposed to just putting kind of probably not news to your ears, Chloe, as a recruiter, but not just putting bums on seats and scaling a project from the partnership perspective. So I think we're really seeing that, and we're seeing partners develop value propositions that for them work as a really nice piece of retained capability within a customer organization, but also demonstrate their value a lot more effectively, a lot more quickly. Managed services, for example, with Power Platform, we're seeing so many organizations be able to deliver a Power Platform Center of Excellence as a service, advisory capabilities into those customers, which is certainly what they're demanding, and they're really needing that trusted provider that they can take their queries and questions to.
Yeah, interesting. I think overall, what I'm taking from that is that there is such a fantastic opportunity within the partner ecosystem for them to be able to capitalize on the opportunity and the tech. I think, I know AI is a hot topic at the moment, and I was able to see, the AI piece within D365 BC, the Copilot, kind of add-on, which was really exciting to see what Microsoft are doing. So it's going to be fascinating to see how partners are going to tackle that problem and how they are going to capitalize on it, along with all the other things that you've just mentioned. And that probably segues us quite nicely into our next question, which is, where are the partners going wrong?
Again, another really good question. I think where we see partners fail to get traction, or there's loads of friction between them and their customers, is when they're trying to be all things to all people across their business application stack. Perhaps they're suggesting that they can cover everything from kind of CRM all the way through to their ERP capability, be it Business Central or even F&O. On the flip side, where we see partners really succeed is when they are really intentionally going after a specific, not necessarily just a specific industry, but a specific workload within that industry, be it warehouse management for large scale retailers, or we've even got one fantastic partner that's got some IP specifically for animal feed. They've gone completely down this very, very specific niche. But what it means is that they can be incredibly well positioned with their customer acquisition statements, and they can talk to not just the customer's prospective return on investment, but they can really tap into the emotions associated with that sale, and really play into the kind of various personas that they're going to engage with. So whether it's higher education, not for profit, construction, whatever it is, when those partners are creating highly empathetic solutions that are tapping into either key challenges they know that particular market is facing, or even kind of compliance challenges that they know that those types of customers are going to be experiencing, they are driving greater success. They're able to create more targeted thought leadership, more targeted return on investment statistics. So yeah, that would be where we see partners go wrong, is absolutely when they've not got that intentionality around what they're going after. And by no means suggesting that those partners kind of disqualify any other opportunities that fall outside of that come into their business. But when they're intentional about what they're going after, that's where we're seeing them really succeed.
Yeah, I can see a lot of benefit in having a focus, because then, the people that are working within these projects are going to get a really good understanding of these businesses, if it's within a specific industry, who works within them, what do they do, how the system can be used, and how it's going to benefit them, and potential issues that might have occurred. You might have an issue on one project that you can use that experience into another project, how to fix it quite quickly. So yeah, okay, that's really interesting, really insightful. What would be your best piece of advice for someone, if they're thinking about or looking at getting into the Microsoft ecosystem?
So I guess personally, my suggestion would always be, I think is really just to get as stuck in as you can. There are so many free assets for, individuals that are looking to get their first role in the Microsoft partner space. For example, Microsoft hosts their own X in a day events, dashboard in a day, app in a day, customer insights in a day, what fabric analyst in a day, whatever you want to go after, be really kind of focused on going after that and getting involved in that. There's also a whole bunch of kind of community-based events. I know 10th Revolution Group are quite heavily involved in these things like the Dynamics user groups, things like the Saturday events or Dynamics Con. Quite a lot of these events are free. Quite a lot of the events have incredible speakers that present really effectively on their technical area of expertise or their experience in getting going in the ecosystem. So I would absolutely suggest that. Equally, there's some incredible motions like the Power Platform School or some really good Dynamics training that are often charitable, funded engagements that individuals can get going on. But ultimately, my guidance is to get stuck in. If you have got family or friends or relations that run their own business or are really looking, for a solution to help fix a problem, actually go and get stuck in and give it a try. And the community online will certainly help you if you come up against any blockers.
So just get stuck in. Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. And I think it's fantastic that there is such a good community that people can kind of learn and get education from. And, like you yourself, you've worked within this space and you've kind of grown with the businesses, grown with the technologies, grown with your role. So anyone can do it, and it's right out there for you. With the education piece, if you were to think back on your career, what would you say is the biggest learning opportunity that you have?
Oh, it's really hard to put my finger on one scenario, but I think there's definitely been, I think my one sort of learning has been you probably take on the most information when you're absolutely outside of your comfort zone. And I think particularly in this ever evolving, rapidly moving technology backdrop that we find ourselves in, you've got to feel comfortable being out of your sphere of knowledge, because it's inevitable that even if you learn something or you get to know something, it'll have changed or adapted or grown, or there'll be another thing you need to learn. So get comfortable being uncomfortable would be my suggestion. And I would certainly say, having worked at Microsoft, that's my number one bit of feedback as well, because alongside the technology, there's all the kind of programs, incentives and strategies that come at you like a complete fire hose. But with that feeling of unknown or being outside of your comfort zone, it's absolutely where you learn the most and where you ultimately get the opportunity to be innovative. And what I mean by that is, say, particularly in my pre-sales role, I was quite often customer facing, quite often presented with questions I wouldn't necessarily know the answer to. So you have to be able to go and learn where it is you're going to go and find that answer, and most importantly, be able to deal with in the immediacy how you're going to say that to the customer. So I think if I was to summarize the answer to my massively long answer to this question, it's put yourself in a situation, say yes more, and put yourself in a situation where you may not immediately know the answer, but that will absolutely be where you go off and ultimately take on more information, and that is your biggest learning opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a great piece of advice for anyone, really, not just working within the Microsoft ecosystem, but kind of, anyone within any role. If you are getting into a position where you're toasting, you're not learning. And yeah, sometimes it's about being uncomfortable to present those kind of learning opportunities. So that's fantastic. And we're on to our last question, which I don't know how this has gone so quickly. The last question that we've got, and I think for us it's going to be important for our listeners, particularly if they're candidates within the market. What are the skills that you're seeing within the skills gaps, I should say, that you're seeing within the UK Microsoft ecosystem at present?
I think really more and more, the biggest skills gap we're seeing is less technical and more professional services skills, be it what would we traditionally have called soft skills, consulting skills. As AI, Copilot Studio, ChatGPT gets more au fait with actually developing the technicalities and the hardcore coding behind the business applications we know and love, we're going to need less of that and more of the kind of functional consulting, BA type skilling. And to be honest, Chloe, that was already in fairly short supply, as I'm sure you've experienced. So I would say, that's one of the number one areas where we're seeing a bigger skill gap. Soft skills, consulting, requirements gathering, understanding a client's needs and translating that to what it means technically. Alongside that, I would say data is a big gap. Often projects, be it business applications projects or data and AI projects, start with the partner or the individual needing to understand more about the data ecosystem. And whilst that's growing, that understanding is growing more and more, that there just simply isn't enough individuals with that kind of data infrastructure, enterprise kind of data mapping understanding. So that would be my two kind of key takeaways where we're seeing skills gaps.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, the great thing is there's such an opportunity for those functional skills because there are a lot of positions that people can be doing right now with the opportunity to then cross train into, maybe those functional roles within consultancy. And I'm completely with you within the kind of data sphere. There's so much out there, and it's kind of about sifting through and finding the really, really good people and getting more people into that focused on data. So that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Lucy. It has been so wonderful meeting with you and speaking and hearing everything that you're doing. And thanks to everyone who's listening to our podcast. See you on the next one.
Thanks so much for having me.